Later that night, Charlie rolls over in his cot and says to Alf, "You're better when you're juiced too." And then Alf doesn't sleep for 3 days.
Alright, I was not expecting that, but you know what? I'm gonna roll it. I was gonna say, and then Alf rolls out of bed very slowly. So welcome back to Pikmin 3. So in the last day, we actually finally picked up Louie, and we cleared up the majority of the Twilight River, and now we're seeing the aftermath of that. Louie's spacesuit, apparently, according to Charlie, has a hyper sleep function, and you cannot wake him up. Louie has to wake up on his own.
I wish the duck would just float into his mouth.
And he eats it in his sleep. Brittany mentioned slapping him, but apparently it wouldn't work. Slapping Louie. Which I honestly would have wanted to see.
Jesus Christ.
So, Louie forces the SS Drake to land in the Garden of Hope, and I guess exploded off screen, as Louie does.
When he jumps out, it sounds like he's saying, "We punch out!"
I think he's just referencing another game I Let's Played. In the midst of the confusion, Louie kind of freaks out. Not only does he force the SS Drake to land in the Garden of Hope, but he stole all of the juice you've accumulated throughout the game.
You have 1 day to survive. Again.
Yep. Honestly, I kind of like this, but at the same time, I don't like that it's basically having to make Louie be kind of a jerk in order for it to work. Not only that, but we're gonna run into a couple of data files in this game, and we're gonna learn a couple of things about Louie and Olimar's partnership.
I mean, I guess, to him, he's been kidnapped. And he doesn't know that they're on a planet that's starving to death.
That is true. He has been kidnapped. He did just wake up in somebody else's ship. So on one hand, like, I kind of get it. But at the same time... Well, we'll get to when we get to that. So, we split the party here to have 20 pink Pikmin go with Brittany and Alf, while the Charlie team gets to work on the dirt wall back there. Because we have no juice whatsoever, I'm pretty sure it actually does in fact count as a game over if you don't get any fruits. Because you have to not only locate Louie, but you have to do it in the span of the 1 day you have. Speaking of Louie...
Not cool, Louie.
I like how the data log suggests, like, over time, Louie's just gotten worse for no reason.
You know, maybe he's got a problem and he needs to talk to a doctor or something. Don't bring him to another planet.
Maybe it's because of what he did in Pikmin 2, like, he was the final boss and he liked being the final boss. Or maybe he just realized maybe he's having a midlife crisis and he realizes, oh god, I work for Space FedEx. And he's acting out. So we finally have the final Pikmin type, the blue Pikmin. Their advantages are purely water-based, as with the last games. They have a couple of new interesting things they can do, mostly surrounding like aquatic combat, but other than that, that's pretty much it. Also, I managed to throw the pink Pikmin over the dirt wall and they started building it from the other side.
I noticed that. I saw that, thought, oh, you change over because you're scared that they're about to be eaten.
I change over really quick to make sure, like, did I see that right? Is that what happened? So apparently the suits that Olimar and Louie have are like, they have like a hypersleep function on it. I like the idea that Brittany just wanted to slap him awake, but I like to think that if she did that, Louie would have just sat up and smacked Charlie and then go back to sleep immediately. He just sits up. So, while we have the 20 pink Pikmin fight on the dirt wall, which might not seem like the best idea, but you'd be surprised, I'm gonna go ahead and have the Charlie team recover this lime. So you see the little pulleys there with, I'm assuming, cans of tuna tied to the rope? What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to bring in all 3 of your partners, and you're supposed to, like, level it out so that way one side is heavier, and then you just, you know, you do like a basic, like, weight puzzle. With the pink Pikmin, you can literally just point them at the fruit and they just get it for you.
Yeah, what you're supposed to do is tell Thorn, go fuck yourself and do this with the pinks. Because I remember doing that, or at least attempting it, and never managing it. And here you go, waltzing in with all these pinks. No, just charge the pinks at them. They don't care.
To be fair, I didn't know that either. It wasn't until... Like, I tend to watch a lot of speedruns for A, reference, and B, because I just genuinely enjoy speedruns. And sometimes you'll see them do something that makes you go, oh, duh.
Yeah.
So these little guppies here, if you saw when I was making the blues charge towards them, the blue Pikmin automatically started swimming directly towards them.
I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's actually honestly really cool because you could just see them just barreling right towards them. At first I thought combat was going to be difficult because when you throw them normally, they just kind of like slowly sink back to the seafloor. But if you just have them charged, they just automatically start swimming, which I think is really cool. On top of having our pinks work on the dirt wall, which they actually finished, we're going to need to start farming for blues, as we do have a new Pikmin type after all. Not only do I want to leave the little mini Bulblin for the blues, but I also have the pinks pulling out a pellet that I'm also going to be giving to the blues.
In other words, I need someone other than Louie.
Yeah, Louie just kind of keeps getting shit on. I don't know if the writer had something against Louie, like he regretted making him or something. Because, like, at least in the last game, yeah, sure, like, I talked about it a few times, but, like, sure, he causes the plot, but he still is a capable worker. Here, they just kind of made him seem to be, like, some sort of useless idiot that doesn't do anything other than, like, hinder Captain Olimar. Again, about Louie, but this time also talks about the president. At least here they're just talking about how they needed a third guy.
Well, if you're president of the United States, yes.
So, remember how I said you could just charge and lock onto the fruits? You can do
God.
that for this, too.
I'm, like, offended by this.
I feel like this one, though, this was more like an oversight, like they didn't try it or anything. Because they were like, oh, there's no way the pink Pikmin are that smart. Yeah, they are. And I imagine if the Wii U didn't fail, they would have patched that one out. Like, alright, fuck you, Yoshi, nah. No. The first one, fine. That one, how dare you. So, if it hasn't been made clear, Olimar and Louie are back on the Pikmin planet because Hokotate Fright is in debt again. And yes, again, as in all that work, remember all that work we did in Pikmin 2, and remember how we had like a gold-plated ship? Yeah, apparently, the president somehow got us back into debt. The first time it's because he took out a loan from the wrong company. This time, nobody knows what the hell he did, but it seems like he's not very good at his job. And while Olimar and Louie are suffering on the Pikmin planet, he's just taking a vacation.
Maybe he is president of the whole planet. Because that sounds very prescient these days.
So, I accidentally had, like, the 3 blue Pikmin follow me. In another attempt, when I had the blue Pikmin come with me, I had, like, this really clever setup where I was gonna have the 3 blue Pikmin carry the strawberry back to base, and then I grabbed the 3 Pikmin there, and I had them grab one of the corpses, but unfortunately I didn't have enough blues for that. And the reason why I needed blues is because their onion is still in the water, so I can't have any other Pikmin back them up.
Alright.
So with the bug-eyed Crawmad here, this fight actually is not as difficult as it should be. If you notice, I tend to use the pink Pikmin a lot, and that's because of how versatile they are. I still refer to them as the most broken Pikmin in this game, because without Spicy Spray, this fight can be a pain in the ass, but they automatically latch onto the eyes, and that's why the fight isn't very difficult. They just have to attack the soft part of its tummy. You're gonna want to actually, when you kill it, grab the corpse and drop it in the ocean. Because when you grab the little fruit here, the Pikmin actually do get stuck behind it, and they can't actually go around it until you move it.
Well done, Blues.
What we saw were like different bridge parts. They weren't for a bridge, they're actually for, I believe, it's supposed to be a cup. But while the Pinks are getting to work on that, we're gonna have the Charlie team actually go and
do the pink thing again.
Yeah, so remember, this is the third weight puzzle you're supposed to solve, but you can just again throw your pink Pikmin. Have I mentioned that the pink Pikmin are the purple Pikmin of this game?
Despite being, like, kind of the opposite of the purples.
Yeah.
The purples you could throw, and they kind of latched onto enemies and ledges, but other than that, they were big and heavy and did a lot of damage.
So the pink Pikmin, despite being the weakest, they do have a lot of versatility. So for this fight, I actually have an easier time because I have rocks. Because, well, have you ever had anybody throw rocks directly at your eyes?
Elementary school.
I was gonna say never, but actually no. Like, what's the material they use at in those parks where it's not quite dirt, but it has like those little like branch twigs in between? I feel like there's a specific term for it, but I remember being pelted with that a lot when I went to the park sometimes when I was a kid.
Just wood twigs?
Yeah. But not like big ones. They're like, I don't want to say silt. But in any case, that's what I was getting thrown, like, stuff with sometimes. Little insight of my life. Anyway, so we beat him, and he drops another star fruit. And because of how close our base is, the pink Pikmin just kind of relaxed there. So now that I have solved 0 of these weight puzzles, can you believe that that's the last one we're gonna see?
In the whole game?
Well, at least for Garden of Hope. So, now that we have the pink Pikmin currently working on building the little cup pieces, I want to go back here and gather the blues, because I want as many blues as possible for my next trick up my sleeve. Well, not really a trick, but just for the next thing we're going to have to do. We do have plenty of fruits that are going to go for plenty of days. Like, you should be safe. I feel like as long as you get 2, you should be fine. Again, this is... most revisits, you're usually going to be building bridges and stuff. And today is not really all that different. The only advantage I have is the option to, like, since I have all the Pikmin now, I can just access all the fruits, basically. I can solve every puzzle that the game can throw at me.
Yeah, we should mention that our estimation for how long the LP is going to last has been upped from about, like, max 13 days to maybe 16, because there's so many damn bridges you have to make.
Yeah, a lot of the bridges have basically forced me to, like, run out of time. So I basically have to come back and revisit. Much like, or like even the boss fight with Scored and Maestro, where I just simply did not have enough time in the day where I had to revisit. Which, you know, I don't really mind. Another thing that you can just make the pink Pikmin do, because you're supposed to wait until that cup is finished and then throw your leaders. But you just make your pink Pikmin go.
I feel like such a sucker. Oh, do it how the game intends. No, that's worse.
You could do it that way, or may I recommend pink Pikmin? So I'm hoping that maybe in a future game, well, you know how like plants tend to like crossbreed? I'm hoping that the pink Pikmin and the purples are able to like photosynthesize a new breed, so that way it just has both attributes where they're really heavy, but they can fly and they can just kill everything. And then Miyamoto cries in his sleep because I came up with that idea. Like, not only... It's also, like, insulting when they just fly over the water and the blues are like, yeah, this is our one advantage. There's actually more bridge pieces in the water that requires the blues, but again, I can... Actually, this isn't even a pink Pikmin thing. Once you build enough of the pieces, you can actually just throw one of your leaders across the waypoint. You can just kind of have them take care of it.
So, something that I noticed, I've replayed the first two Pikmin in between the last part and this part. And something that I noticed that's in this that we haven't talked on, down in the bottom right, it shows you what color Pikmin is selected, and it stays that way no matter how much you move around. Whereas in the first game, whoever was selected was just based on who was behind your current captain, and that would change just depending on you moving. So here it's actually chosen specifically on who is selected, and it doesn't change until you change it. And that's actually very nice. It's very easy to keep switching between, like, I hated trying to throw my purple Pikmin, and as soon as I throw the first one, it switches to white Pikmin, who will not do the same thing. We're a little spoiled, it almost feels like, for reliable mechanics in Pikmin 3 compared to the first two. That was smart.
Yeah, that was me giving myself a bit of a... I had too good of a day. I had to mess up a little bit, so I attempted to drop my yellows for a second.
You got that last fruit at the last second.
Yeah, like, I was actually worried, like, oh man, am I gonna have to restart? And then the pink Pikmin were like, it's us. And I'm like, you're right. So, now that I nearly snapped the Garden of Hope in 2, we still actually didn't get a hint of where Louie was. We're gonna have to come back and actually recover Louie and the rest of our juice. But, I like to think that I have more than enough fruits to spend a couple days, you know? Not only just, like, to come back to the Garden of Hope, but if I wanted, I could go to, like, the distant tundra or the Twilight River or tropical wilds if I felt like it. Just because I have the extra days.
That's a good question.
Hopefully.
So somebody mentioned, apparently in Pikmin 2, at one point Travis said, wouldn't it be funny if you could throw Louie? And then in Pikmin 3, that's a core mechanic.
It actually... Because sometimes I end up accidentally throwing Brittany towards a group of enemies when I'm throwing some Pikmin. But she's okay, she can handle herself. And I kept saying multiplayer, but I actually want to make a correction. Multiplayer, yes, but I meant mission mode of Pikmin 3, where you can play as Olimar and Louie. But for some reason, you always have to, like, rescue Louie from the inside of an enemy, and you have to bring him back to the Drake in order for him to be playable. In that map every time, I don't know why. But yeah, in that instance, you can absolutely, like, just throw Louie whenever you want.
Just out of annoyance.
We also have, like, 2 extra blue Pikmin on top of the rock Pikmin. For the least amount of growth I've done for the rock Pikmin, they are really, honestly, very useful. And Alf actually does have a good point. The blue onion was toppled over like that because the blue Pikmin aren't extinct. That's why it spouted out only 1 seed. Compared to the yellow, since there was already like 3 chained together and only like 2 were buried. The blue Pikmin got absolutely decimated this time around.
They really cannot survive without us.
No, they really can't.
They're like pandas. They're cute, but they're useless.
I mean, at least the winged Pikmin had an excuse that they were, like, stuck in the arachnode spiderweb.
That does remind me, all the way back at the end of Pikmin 1, you could see pink onions flying up after you.
Yeah, at the end of Pikmin 1, there's, like, various different ones. There's an orange one, I believe. There's, like, a teal turquoise one. I remember there's a black one.
Yeah, black or gray. That could be the rock Pikmin.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm assuming back at the time they didn't even think about it, but
Yeah.
they were just like, yeah, well, this isn't a neat color we could come back to. I think the one that makes me go, huh, is when I see the purple onion, because I'm like, alright, but in 2 they didn't have an onion.
Yeah. That is a thought, though, because you never see their onion, and you only get them through the candy pop buds. Are they like ligers, where they're not technically a species, they're just a weird breed that you get when you combine a Pikmin and a candy pop bud, but they can't actually make more?
That's a good point. Especially since in mission mode, you actually just find the purples and whites just hanging around the map. I wonder if that means that the purple and whites are just that versatile for the environment, like they're one of the few that can survive on the Pikmin planet?
Like they may literally not have an onion.
Yeah, like they just don't have one by nature because they don't need one.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, sure, and 2, like, they went into the ship's engines, and somehow they didn't burn up in space every night, but that was only because you really needed them, and because the Pikmin think in binary, they don't really mind. So, like, when they're hanging with you, they're like, yeah, cool, this is fine, but then when they die, they're like, well, that's what happens to me, I guess. This franchise can get sad and depressing, surprisingly.
I feel like that's something that gets lost with 2. It gets so wackier and sillier. Whereas the first game, it's cute and colorful, but it's kind of somber because you are on a 30-day deathbed unless you can build your ship.
And Olimar also has, like, nightly journals where he has different thoughts, and he has, like, you're playing a married man who has a family
Yeah.
and kids and a pet, and you're just like, oh man, I really want to help him get there. And if you don't, well, then his family just never sees him ever again. I would imagine they'd be kind of worried every time Olimar goes to the Pikmin planet then. The boss says, we're in debt again, and Olimar's wife is like, why do you work with him still? Like, why? You could be anything, and he's just like, it puts food on the table. No, it doesn't! You find food for him!
He ate half the treasures last time.
Why do you think you had to go back with, what's his name, Lewis?
Larry, the guy who put you there the second time?
Well, I mean, to be fair, we did leave Louie behind the first time, but I don't think he minded.
Then why are you going back for
Like, we gotta get the treasures. Pikmin 4, Olimar gets a career change.
it? He needs it.
He really does.
The president and Louie don't deserve him.
I mean, I feel like Louie will succeed or die in any environment he's in, but it just depends on the day. The president, oh, he's hopeless.
There's gonna be one day, 1,000 days later, after Louie has survived alone on the Pikmin planet, he's just gonna get up, stretch, and get eaten by a flytrap. And that'll be it. It'll be anticlimactic as hell.
But then the fly trap starts to wilt slowly.
And he pops out, stretches again, and goes back to sleep.
Yeah, pretty much.
That was his day. He's had all the excitement he can handle.
Oh man, I am beat. Yawn, stretch.
Oh, also, I think Louie can survive in oxygen.
Yeah.
Because he probably ran out of oxygen, and he would have had to take his helmet off in order to eat all the bugs that he ate.
Yeah, that's another thing. That is a good point. Like, unless he, like, managed to make a weird device where he was able to feed himself through his whistle or whatever, I don't think he did. He's got a lot of mysteries on him. And I would be happy with them never addressing any of it.
Yeah, they can't.
They're just like, well, he's Louie.
Unless they go full on, he is God.
I've been ruining your life to test you, Olimar.
You failed, final boss.
And he levitates the planets around the solar system somehow. Like, oh my god!
Pikmin 5. Louie somehow flung all the Pikmin to other planets. Go find them.
And bring them back to me.
Pikmin 5. Katamari Damashi.
You know, that would be a really interesting twist. Let me tell you the story on how I became king of the cosmos.
I ate a bug.
Thanks, Grandma.